The Mafia series has been pretty hit and miss for me. I love the Mafia 1 remaster, and this will be a bit of a hot take since I know it's everyone's favorite, but I think Mafia 2 is just okay. Mafia 3 is a bit of a disaster though, I think we can all agree with that. Despite its checkered past, when I saw the initial trailer for Mafia the Old Country, I was kinda excited. Most mob movies or shows usually take place in New York or Chicago, and while I have no problem with that, going back to where it all began in Sicily is refreshing.
It happens.
You fucking asshole!
After completing the game, I would say Mafia's streak of inconsistency remains consistent. While the setting is fresh, the gameplay and mechanics are pretty stale. The story does come to an admittedly great conclusion, but the slow build and pretty predictable twists made the first half pretty dull. Mafia the Old Country is a third-person action-adventure game made by Hangar 13 and published by 2K Games. In the Old Country, you play as Enzo Favara, a young man sold into indentured servitude by his father so he can work the sulfur mines and pay off his father's debts. Enzo, however, has no intentions of doing so. Once he saves up enough cash, he plans to escape to Empire Bay in America. Unfortunately, these mines are owned and operated by these jerks called the Spadaro family, who constantly overwork and mistreat their miners. One day, tremors caused by the nearby volcano cause the mines to collapse and all hell breaks loose. Enzo escapes to a nearby farm and is nearly caught by the Spadaros, but luckily a man named Luca appears and warns the Spadaros to back off, because the farm Enzo luckily ended up on is owned by Don Torrisi of the Torrisi family, their rival gang. Now indebted to the Don, Enzo works as a farmhand to the Torrisi family before quickly becoming involved in the mob. The story of Mafia the Old Country is pretty good, with an enjoyable cast of characters. Enzo, our main character, is a troubled young man who's been dealt a bad hand in life and is trying his best to turn things around. Alone, he's kinda whatever, but when he interacts with the rest of the characters, he starts to shine a bit more. Particular standouts for me were Cesare, the Don's nephew. He's a bit of a slacker, but he's got ambition to take over the family. His loyalty to the Don is unquestionable, for better and for worse. Tino's another one, the slimeball right-hand man to the Don. He berates anyone who so much as looks at him the wrong way, and is willing to do anything to keep the family business safe. Finally, Isabella, Enzo's love interest and the Don's daughter. Don Torrisi has kept her on a tight leash since her mother passed away, free to go where she wants to, and free to be with who she wants to. Enzo and Isabella's relationship is probably my favorite part of the story. It's a rather cliche forbidden love story, but the Mafia setting spices it up enough to keep you interested throughout. The game does start very slowly though. You'll be shoveling manure and carrying boxes for a few hours before the actual Mafia stuff starts to kick in. And even after that, the story is still a pretty slow, predictable build to a rather admittedly glorious climax. I'd say around the 50% mark is when the game starts to really get good. There are lots of cool set pieces and story moments that had me on the edge of my seat. Gameplay for Mafia the Old Country is a bit of a mixed bag. For one, the control scheme takes some getting used to. Once you're over that though, you're met with a pretty basic cover shooter and some stealth that's just as basic. Shooting feels good and there's a generous amount of aim assist that you can turn down if you'd like for more of a challenge. There's decent weapon variety, and I found myself mixing up my loadouts depending on the mission I was going on. The cover system works fine, though sometimes I had trouble switching between cover and moving to the other side of cover I was already behind, because they're tied to the same button and it wasn't always clear which one I would be doing. This kind of affects stealth since you'll be hiding behind walls and crouching the whole time. Stealth is pretty disappointing in this game. It's your usual throw thing to distract guard, knife or choke them, and then move on to the next. The AI is pretty simple and usually just walks back and forth so you can handle them easily. The one thing the game has that's unique to its gameplay is the knife. There are 3 types of knives in this game. You can throw Scanaturi knives, use Rasolu knives for one-hit kills in active combat, and stiletto knives have higher durability than the others. Using a knife decreases its durability, so you have to sharpen it with whetstones that you find in the environment or by searching bodies. I was not a fan of driving in this game, though driving has never been great in the series to me. It's a weird mix of simulation and arcade that never feels quite right. Cars here feel both heavy and slippery. I can recognize that this is probably a skill issue, but one time during a race, I made a turn so harsh that I lost control, flipped the car upward, and got stuck on a tree. It was impossible for me to get out, so I had to reload at the checkpoint. Lucky for me, this game has horses, so whenever I had the option, I would just ride a horse instead of driving. Speaking of navigation, the guidepost system is great. Whenever you're driving or riding a horse, guideposts will appear pointing in the direction for you to go whenever you have to make a turn. This is something I wish more open world games would do. It's such a simple but effective way to guide the player, so you don't have to keep looking at a mini-map or compass, and instead can focus on the road. That said, one aspect of navigation that annoyed me is the fact that you can't set your own waypoints on the map. This is a problem because you have a rosary you can upgrade to gain passives that help you in the game, but the only way to do that is to go to this specific shop. And because you can't set a waypoint, you have to drive, pause to make sure you're on the right track, drive, pause again, and so on. This goes double for any collectibles you want to gather around the world. It's weird because the rosary is the only thing you need to do this for. You can buy clothes, weapons, horses, etc. all at your safe house. It's a weird oversight that annoyed me throughout the game. Speaking of repeating things though, the knife fights. Oh, the knife fights. Sometimes a mission will culminate in what is, I guess, this game's version of a boss fight. You whip out a knife and duke it out with a guy until you beat him. It was kinda cool at first. There's a parry, dodge, heavy attack, the usual, but fights are all the same. The enemies all do the same attacks and follow the same patterns. There's only 2 fights I can remember where they did something unique, and both times they just threw dirt at me. It wouldn't be so bad if there weren't so many of them. It's the same fight reskinned over and over again. It's especially frustrating because a lot of the times, Enzo will have a gun right before a fight, but then he'll get thrown to the ground in a cutscene and all of a sudden his gun disappears. It makes no sense. Why would a game like this need boss fights anyways? The melee combat isn't all that deep and it's a third-person shooter. If they used these more sparingly and gave each boss different patterns and unique attacks, it wouldn't have been so bad, and I probably would have looked forward to it at key moments of the story. Another annoying thing about this game is the performance. I played on performance mode at first, but the frame rate would drop to like 30 or 40 FPS whenever a cutscene would start. The game also starts stuttering whenever you reach areas with lots of buildings or things going on. The game actually crashed on me during a scene that had a lot of particle effects in NPCs on screen. After that I switched to graphics mode for a bit, but I found the game would still drop frames. Eventually I just went back to performance because I'd rather play at 60 FPS with some stuttering than 30 FPS with the same problems. When the game isn't dropping frames though, it is gorgeous. The Sicilian countryside littered with small farms, vineyards, and old Greek ruins made the world feel grounded and immersive. The only thing I really wish this game had was subtitles for Italian words when characters were speaking. A lot of times you can kinda infer what they're saying, but it would have been nice to know exactly what each word meant. Like the whole game, some of the characters will call Enzo Caruso. At first, I thought it meant slave or miner or something until I looked it up and it just means boy. Despite all my criticisms, I still enjoyed my time with Mafia the Old Country. I think part of the reason is how short it is. I beat the game in around 13 to 14 hours, so the game never felt like it was dragging or overstayed its welcome. The story may be predictable and the gameplay is bog standard, but it really turns around in the second half. I would say that it's probably my second favorite game in the series, with Mafia Remastered being number 1 of course. I appreciate 2K not making the game $70, but even at $50, I would probably say wait for a sale, unless you're a huge Mafia fan. Anyways, what did you guys think? Did you like the game more than I did? What were your thoughts on Enzo and Isabella's romance? Did you like the ending? Let me know in the comments. Until next time, sleep tight everybody. I know I will.